Hello and welcome, Sheriff here. The third campaign of the Tactical Air War server started lately, and this time we are flying for the German side. If you don't know what the server is about, I recommend to watch a video of mine I did a few weeks ago. There I explain how the server works and how the mission works. In this video I want to focus more on the action and the tactics, and I don't want to show a single sortie here, but I want to show the main happenings of a series of sorties. They had all one thing in common, and they had the purpose to relieve the city of Kalach and to destroy the defenses nearby and to destroy the enemy tanks which endangered the airfield of Kalach. Originally I wanted to show you those battles as live gameplays, however Windows decided to do an update, and for some reason DX Story had then decided to record no sound. So after a while being pissed about that, I thought I could make something different then. So I thought while Feraphics and Bismarck are going to upload their stuff on their respective channels, I want to use this opportunity to show you some general background and the thought process behind all the tactics and stuff. So in the prelude of the main battle, it all started with a relatively uneventful sortie of Feraphics and me. I personally picked a Focke-Wulf 190A3 with a 500 kg bomb, and Feraphics picked a 109G2 with a 250 kg bomb. And in this mission we had really bad weather, and the plan was to get to the defenses in front of the Peshkovata airfield and to drop the bombs and then climb back into the clouds. While we were approaching the target area, we saw some Russian fighters in the north, but in the confidence of being faster and being able to climb into the clouds, we proceeded. And we had some success. I destroyed some of the defenses with my bomb. So after bombing, we climbed back into the cloud, and we just flew back without any more action. So in the next sortie, but in the same mission, so the weather was still very bad, Bismarck and Kurfürst joined. And this time Feraphics, Kurfürst and I picked 109s in fighter configuration, and Bismarck picked a 110, and we planned to bomb the defenses even more. So in this sortie I noticed for the first time that we had a good bunch of friendly ground attackers already in the area, but not enough aggressive friendly fighters to be able to cover the ground attackers sufficiently. In the sortie Bismarck dropped the bombs, and we were keeping the enemy fighters a little busy in little dogfights, but still we were playing it safe and we avoided any major confrontation, for the most part to avoid any turn fights on the deck. We all returned safely to our airfield. The mission ended shortly after, and after reviewing the replay I was not very satisfied with the results. While nobody of us died or lost a plane or whatsoever, and additionally we succeeded in disabling the airfield, I felt with a little bit more aggressive dogfighting we could have done way more damage to the enemy. So often I was behind an enemy but let him go because I was afraid that I get dragged or something like this. So for the next sortie we made another plan. In the last mission we had enough Stukas and other ground attackers in the area. The main problem was that they got shot down by Russian fighters at mid or low altitude. So for the current sortie we all picked fighters without any additional cannons or bombs. The plan was to arrive at the area at a decent altitude around 4K, which is not that high but still high enough to disengage by climbing or diving, and at the same time 4K is a good altitude to dive on lower flying targets. The goal was to create absolute air dominance in the area, so the ground attackers could do their job at the enemy tanks and defenses without getting disturbed so much, and additionally we wanted to create a toll on the enemy aircraft and pilots. Aircraft which aren't available to the enemy in the next missions aren't harassing you in the next missions, but obviously at the same time we don't want to risk our own lives more than needed, so we gave us all the time mutual support. So Bismarck flew with Kurfürst as a wingman and leader combination, and I was flying with Feraphics. And shortly after the takeoff we arrived in the area, and it was only a matter of seconds until we saw the first contacts. Feraphics cut back relatively quickly the first leg 3 and pulled back up while the enemy fell to earth burning. I rolled over to dive on a yak shortly after, but scored no hits. Almost simultaneously, Feraphics was able to damage another LA5, which was not able to return to base according to the server statistics. And shortly after that, I spotted a leg 3 which was flying below me and without noticing me. I could slot in and I gave him a burst, but sadly I only did minor damage and a little fuel leak. He dove down and vanished to the east. At that moment I really don't had any plans to chase him or something like this, or to dive down to the east. I really wanted to keep my altitude and I wanted to stay in the area, and there were enough targets, enemy fighters anyway. Feraphics dove onto another fighter and I covered him. The Russian fighter and Feraphics vanished for a brief moment in a small cloud, and I spotted them shortly after and dove onto the LA5, but sadly I missed my shots. After the attack I zoomed back up and I kept checking my 6 looking for enemy fighters on medium altitude, but we were lucky and the whole battle there was no enemy fighter on medium altitude. They could have spoiled our nice battle with that, but luckily, yeah, nobody was there. In the meantime, I lost the LA5 and I kept my altitude, but Kurfürst saw the LA5 again shortly after and called out his position. Luckily, I was the closest one to the LA5 and I continued the chase. I closed in on the enemy, I gave him a short burst, and I was not sure at the moment how damaged the fighter was. But the replay revealed that I killed the pilot in the very first burst. So, lucky hit, and I was very glad that the LA5 was down. That was the squad's 3rd victory in that battle. So, we decided at that point to climb a little bit further to the west to regain some altitude, so we could regain our situation awareness. And as I was already in the west and on altitude again, I spotted a Russian fighter exactly at the same spot where I shot down the LA5 earlier. He was flying straight to the west on the deck, so I decided to just dive down and try to attack him there. But at that moment I really was too fast and I had to abort the dive. I first misjudged my own speed, and second I misjudged the speed of the yak. Would have been the yak a little bit faster, maybe I could have got him there, but yeah, not in that way here right now. So I had to pull back up, and that gave Feraphics the chance to dive on him, but sadly he missed. And I personally lost him for a moment there, but Feraphics kept him inside all the time, so he could call out his position and his behavior and stuff. So it was really easy for me to see him again shortly after, and I made another attack. But at this time he was evading my shots with a steep turn. I looped back around to try again, but this time I expected the turn again to the left, so I flew a little bit to the right of the enemy, so I could get a little bit more lead if he turns left. And this indeed gave me enough lead onto my target, so I could shoot some accurate shots here, and I observed some hits on the left wing. After looking back I saw him burning and shortly after crashing, so that was the 4th kill of the squad here. But at that point we had really no fuel left, so we landed and we are making a break from flying and the mission ended. An hour later we took off again for another sortie and again applying the very same tactic. Kurfürst this time damaged another leg 3, which was then smoking wide. Seeing the white smoke, I saw an undamaged leg 3 flying next to the damaged one, so I dove down and gave the leg 3 a short burst. He did not see me coming, and the first burst killed the pilot instantly. A few minutes later, Bismarck dove on a Russian fighter which attacked a Stuka, and Bismarck shot the fighter down very quickly. The last kill we made was again Bismarck, who chased down another Russian fighter. He lost his rudder and he lost control a few seconds later, and so yeah, but that was basically it. I count 7 shot down enemy aircraft against no losses on our own. Again we had no fuel and we had to return to our airfield. Only disturbed by a leg 3, which was for a brief moment on Feraphics tail, but we could disengage quickly. And the most important thing, the Stukas could fulfill their mission and they destroyed most of the enemy tanks. The airfield of Kalach was still in the possession of the German team in the next round. So yeah, I would say we were pretty successful. So in retro perspective, if that makes sense, it was a very successful mission. It looked easier afterwards than actually flying that thing. We had always be very, very careful not to get bounced by other Russians. They didn't came. That was pretty lucky. But yeah, pretty successful. A lot of fun. We had really a lot of fun, I have to say. But yeah, that's it. I hope you like my little summary here. Check out the channels of Feraphics and Bismarck. Both channels are linked in the description. I'm sure we will see some gameplay of those sorties on their channels. And by the way, I started a Discord channel where we now play more often. All this footage you see, we played on my new Discord channel. Feel free to join. The link is in the description. Discord is really nice and a new voice comm alternative to Skype and TeamSpeak. It's really great to connect with the community. It's a perfect way for me, at least, because I can decide when and how I want to engage with the community, with texting or with voice communication. So it's a perfect way for a YouTuber, in my honest opinion. So yeah, the link to the server is in the description. Feel free to join. See you there, and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.